call to order, and we'll start with the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, I wish to announce that the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. Notices announcing the date, time, and place for this meeting were sent to all concerned individuals, associations, and sent to Union County Local Source in accordance with Chapter 231 of Public Law 1975. For the roll call, Ms. Stanton? Here. Dr. Porak is absent. Ms. Miller? Here. Ms. Justice? Here. Ms. Cohn is on her way. Vice President Cho? Here. President Cologne?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Jess. We are jumping right into new hires, or do you want to take a step before we do the new hires? You want to go right in?
Yeah, we typically have the presentation, so that's the only part that's missing.
Yeah.
So we'll go right in.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank
Board
you.
of new hires.
Thank you, President Cologne. Good evening. We typically have presentations and some other events prior to this part of the agenda. It's a little lighter this month, but it's my pleasure. As you know, we like to recognize all of our new hires and welcome them to the district so they attend the board meeting where the board votes them in as part of our professional community. And this month we have 3 new employees that we'd like to recognize. So when I say your name, if you don't mind standing up so the board can see who we are hiring tonight. We're going to start with Shay Williams, Media Specialist, Jefferson Primary Center and Jefferson Elementary School. Welcome. We have Shane Kress. Shane, Television Production Studio Manager, Summit High School. And we have Samantha Carrington, French teacher, Lawton C. Johnson, Summit Middle School. And before we take a vote, President, I'd like to just recognize Carlos Garcia. Carlos has been setting up and the equipment and producing live stream videos for the board meetings for several years now. And I want to thank Carlos for all of his time and effort that he put into these board meetings to make them accessible to people from home. Best of luck to you, Carlos.
Absolutely. Thank you for that note. And so we will go right into a motion for the approval of the new hires. I will, before we do the motion, just to announce a bit of a flip to the agenda, I would like to refrain from breaking until after we get through the student report. Right, so let's get through the student report and then we'll take a break and go from there.
Okay, excellent.
All right.
Mr. President, if I could, before you make the motion, just one change to the new hires for Ms. Carrington. Under step and salary, the step should be BA plus 15, and the salary should be $60,675.
Yes, thank you for that. I did see that come across last minute, but and to our new hires, thank you for being here and welcome to Summit. I will ask for a motion for approval of the new hires. Do I have one?
Do you have a second?
Yep, we did.
Okay. Oh, I didn't hear the head nod, sorry.
Come on, Derek.
Sorry, I was too busy trying to write everybody down. All right. Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cohn?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
Yeah. Okay. So I will go right into my announcements. I will be I think the last person, given it's Thursday, 4 days after the start of the second quarter, so maybe the last person to welcome everyone back from fall break. And so, welcome. I hope it was relaxing for students and their families. I also hope that the second quarter has started strong for all of our students. They probably feel like they've been back in school for 3 or 4 weeks already. One other point with respect to this time of year, we're in transition between the fall and the winter sports. So I would like to congratulate all of our student athletes on successful collectively successful fall seasons. There were a lot of good things that came out of this sports season, and so thank you to all the student athletes for their commitment, and I wish them all the best going forward. For our winter student athletes, best of luck, for much success, and also free from injuries. I will add that point as well. And not to ignore our co-curriculars, wishing our drama club much success down the hall for the show that will start in 20 or so minutes, She Kills Monsters. They don't need luck. I'll wish them luck anyway, but those students are uber talented, led by Ann Pointer, who is spectacular. So I'm looking forward to seeing that tomorrow evening. To Board of Ed items, two noteworthy points with respect to our board. We did collectively attend the New Jersey School Board Administration Conference in Atlantic City. It's a good opportunity for our board members to bond on a personal level along with the cabinet and the senior district team, and also an opportunity to stay up to speed on all matters related to boards of education in the state of New Jersey. And so it is a dual-purpose event, and I think it was successful on both fronts. And so that was a very good outcome. That was in late October. Also in October, we held a community Q&A session for the district in Washington School. I thought the dialogue was fantastic in that Q&A. We covered a lot of important topics related to school safety, and I'm taking a little bit of thunder away from the Communications Committee minutes, so I apologize for that. So school calendar, safety, security, the tracking of students from the middle school through the high school in terms of tracking into honors and advanced programming. We also discussed that, as well as addressing any evidence of learning loss that we've had in this district as a result of the pandemic. And so, as we've discussed in this forum over the course of the last year, the district is very attuned to that and working diligently to identify areas where there may be, at the student level, opportunities to enhance the education coming out of COVID. So that work is being undertaken. So that was all part of the topics of the Q&A. We are going to have another one, and hopefully this will be an ongoing event. I think COVID kind of threw a curveball at all of us with respect to this, but we will do one late winter, early spring. We'll have it again, and we'll announce that when the time comes closer. In keeping with my desire to highlight programs in each of our schools over the course of the school year, I want to take a moment to mention Washington School and a counseling program that they have undertaken in the last 2 months to educate students about hunger and poverty in the world. Through books, media sources, and other forms of research, the students have learned that 1 in 9 people in the world do not have enough food to eat, and 1 in 5 children in the United States is food insecure. Just general points, but then more specifically, as far as the objectives of the lessons, are for students to explore how hunger affects the mind and the body, gain an understanding of the reasons why some people are hungry and not able to get enough food, and if they answer that question successfully, they should present to the UN. And find a way to positively impact the lives of those who are hungry in their community. School counselor Andrea Sadow scheduled a culminating school-wide project with Bridges Outreach to plan a lunch assembly day on November 22nd, so Bridges can distribute these lunches to their beneficiaries in and near the Summit community. Bridges Outreach representatives will be speaking to our older students on this day to help them understand the work they do in the community. And Washington's PTO group has generously partnered to reach out to families for volunteers and food collections. In addition to the learning that's taking place in the classroom and participating in the food collection work, our students are actively involved in the program by decorating lunch bags, writing notes in the bags, packing the food, as well as making the sandwiches, and that is occurring across all the grade levels 1 through 5 at Washington School. At the end of this project, Mrs. Sadow will be holding a restorative circle with each class to discuss how they made an impact, how it made students feel, and what they might do going forward to continue being change makers in their community and the world. And quite frankly, I'm not sure there's a more important educational message that one could give our students than that. So on that note, I will complete my dissertation on all things Summit and move to you for superintendent comments.
Thank you, President Cologne. Good evening, everyone. Well, I'd like to start, and it is with great enthusiasm that I'd like to welcome back Kathy Sarno to her role as Assistant Business Administrator. We're so happy to see you back, Kathy. We missed you. And I'm also happy to report that the district's planned bond issuance was approved by the Summit Common Council at their meeting on Monday. There's going to be a second hearing. There's going to be a hearing and a second vote on December 6th, but there's a lot of excitement around this. We are beginning some planning for the future stages of this initiative. There's lots to do, and we're hopeful that it's going to continue on the path that it's taken because there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm behind it, so we look forward to the upcoming months. And I'm also proud to report that Summit Public Schools has been awarded the ShopRite Cup from the NJSIAA. What that means is that we are the best, most highest performing athletic program in the state of New Jersey for Group 3 schools. It's quite an accomplishment, and this covers all of last year, 21-22. So congratulations to all the coaches, all the players, and of course our Director of Athletics, Stan Healy. It's quite an accomplishment, and their hard work and dedication to excellence has certainly paid off. We hosted our first Nurtured Heart workshop for parents on November 14th. Part 2 with Dr. Susie Millar will be December 5th from 9 to 10:30 at Summit High School. If you are interested, a lot of positive feedback thus far. And many thanks to the elementary PTOs for coming together, working collaboratively on fundraising efforts to support grade-wide field trips. This is the first time that they've come together to distribute the proceeds from fundraising equitably across all elementary schools, so we applaud that. Well done. And on to happenings in the schools at the primary centers. Classrooms have focused on kindness and giving back to the community. Students and staff have been preparing for annual Day of Giving on Monday, November 21st. Families have been donating food, household goods, and other resources which will be given to local organizations. Students are also recognizing our first responders by creating thank you cards for all of them. Parents and guardians of prospective kindergarten and pre-kindergarten students for Wilson and Jefferson primary centers are invited to tour our facilities. Our tours are provided at both locations, and information can be found on our website. The tours will take place during November and mid-December. At Brayton Elementary School, November is Kindness Month. The kids kicked off the month with a school-wide assembly and a pep rally on Brayton Day. And during the month, students and staff focus on how they can show kindness and caring to others throughout the school day. And at Franklin, parents of the students from Miss Alphone's class came in to share their culture and celebrate their holiday of Diwali, the festival of joy and enlightenment. The Franklin students had tons of fun learning about special foods and memories they share with their families. The morning was full of playing clay dia candles, henna, and wearing sparkly bangles. Over at Washington, tomorrow, November 18th, is their 4th grade dance residency. 4th graders at Washington School will work with an artist in residence who teaches them dances from Brazil, Native American, Italy. Students learn about these cultures and then perform a dance for their parents and families. And at Lincoln Hubbard, the 5th grade Pride Pals team is currently engaged in planning the return of the Lincoln Hubbard Pep Rally, which will be held next Tuesday, November 22nd. The Pep Rally has been a long-standing tradition where students and staff celebrate Lincoln Hubbard pride and teamwork. The highlight of the Pep Rally is the grade 5 teachers versus students volleyball game. I'm sure Mr. Carlin is going to be right in the center of all of that.
I have my money on the students.
Yeah, I think they won the last time they played. Over at the middle school, the 6th grade students attended the NFL Play 60 flag football tournament with the health and PE staff. The students competed against other local 6th grade students in a 5 versus 5 flag football tournament and had the chance to be coached by New York Jets football players. The Play 60 event encourages all students to get 60 minutes of exercise every day. At the high school, another Ann Pointer reference, an educator at Summit High School, she received the University of Chicago Outstanding Educator Award. Each year, newly admitted students at the University of Chicago have the opportunity to reflect on their time in high school and nominate an educator who played a significant role in their education, made a positive impact in their lives, and whose influence has brought them to where they are today. Congratulations, Ms. Pointer. And as you mentioned, well, our speech and debate and drama for this celebration, the Summit High School speech and debate team swept the Bronx Science High School tournament October 15th and 16th, winning first place overall. Several students are now qualified for the prestigious Tournament of Champions at the University of Kentucky in April. Congratulations. And in the world of arts, the Summit Middle School is proud to present A Christmas Carol, a holiday classic that teaches us the true wealth lies not in the amount of material things you have, but in the goodness you share with others. Performances are Friday, December 2nd at 7 p.m. and Saturday, December 3rd at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. You can find more information and purchase tickets online. And as President Cologne mentioned, the Summit High School Theater Arts Program presents the dramatic comedy She Kills Monsters, the Young Adventures edition. Opening night is happening as we speak. Additional performances are happening tomorrow and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. in the auditorium. Moving on to some accolades in athletics, as President Cologne mentioned, we had National Signing Day on November 9th. And I'm going to read off some of the places where some of our great student athletes will be attending next year. Pilar Cundy, sailing, Cornell University. Jane Freeman, lacrosse, Johns Hopkins University. Abby Iacovelli, lacrosse, Colgate University. Grace Matter, lacrosse, University of Pennsylvania. Spencer Nicely, baseball, Sacred Heart University. Victoria Nicely, rowing, Georgetown University. Lily Spinner, lacrosse, Yale University. And Cecilia Webb, lacrosse, University of Virginia. Congratulations to all of those students and their families. Very impressive. Continuing with athletics, Summit student athlete Vivian Roberts was named Summit Union County's Conference Girls Athlete of the Week for her outstanding performance in the classroom as well on the volleyball court. Vivian, who is the volleyball captain, became only the 5th Hilltopper to reach 300 kills in her career. Also, Hilltopper John Cho has been chosen as Summit Union County's Conference Boys Athlete of the Week for his outstanding academic performance and athletic success in cross country. John is also the cross country captain and set 2 school records at Cherokee and Oak Ridge this season. And I am sure he has a very proud daddy here tonight. Congratulations to all of the Summit Boys cross country team for winning the Group 3 state championship for the first time since 2014. And the varsity football team won the regional tournament championship with a 32-30 thrilling victory over Pascack Valley. And finally, for my report today, I want to recognize the award that Summit recently received from the New Jersey School Public Relations Association. Our teacher feature on middle school art teacher Brian Stager received 3rd place in the video category at the 2022 School Communication Awards. Our teacher feature series was created a few years ago by our communications officer, Lorraine Callander, in an effort to highlight excellent practices, allow the community to get to know some of our talented educators, and continue to encourage skilled educators to join our team. And at this time, I'd like to share the winning video with the board and the community.
I get to take my eyes off the computer and just focus on what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, what are we doing in art today?
Isn't that awesome? It works. Yeah. You can take it off. We're like in the middle of 3D stuff, so we have half kids doing painting their room and half are making plaster sunglasses. So it should be a treat to watch. Let's see, we got fresh, big ceramics here.
Before this class, I wasn't really interested in art, but then I realized that like when I came into Mr. Steger's class, there are so many different types of art. Like I don't like, I'm not as good as at drawing, but I really like clay.
I always try to tell them that there's always someone struggling more than you, and there's always someone more successful, you know, within art. That's kind of the thing that's kept me going. You'll do something and you always see like, oh, that's so much better than I could ever do, you know. Or you may see something and say like, oh, I could probably pull that off.
And Mr. Stecker is a good teacher because he's really kind. He is really calm. He kind of just makes me feel like I'm not too pressured.
I went to Kean University, and one of the parts of the program was to like visit some schools. I was really excited because, you know, you look at this district and they had like 3 kilns going and like all of this crazy ceramic stuff going on. The more I toured Summit, I understood how integral the arts are in the community with the Visual Arts Center and just the the different outlets for creative expression was really cool. So, and it differed a lot from other schools that we went to in during the program.
Do you know what the egg sack means?
I was actually not the greatest student, so it was all over the place. It was really hard to like sit still in a structured class, and I had a really good art teacher, Mr. Schreiner, Mr. Mills as well in high school that kind of let me do my own thing, but also, you know, I wasn't fully on my own. They like checked in and gave notes and stuff like that.
If we're a little behind, he'll help us. He won't just yell at us because we're behind. He'll actually help us.
There's maybe a fear of failure, and that is something that we try to overcome. So it's okay to mess up, it's okay to fail, and learn from that. It's when you don't try at all and you just say, I can't, that's what we have to work on.
Do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it?
I really like how he is not too pressured about paint on the table. He's just like, that's kind of a sign of a good artist, you know?
I think for first year teachers, I'm just going from my personal experience, I was incredibly flustered. So I think just maybe not trying to cram so much, you know, maybe taking a step back and kind of reading the class a little bit more, trying to connect with them. I think connection is probably the main thing, connecting with the kids wherever you can.
Do you have about 5 minutes to clean up?
I really like just being able to call something my own, because when you're researching things for different classes, you're like, okay, researching isn't really your own, you're just getting it off the internet. But this is mine, and it's kind of like I made it from myself out of a lump of clay, so it kind of feels like my own, and it feels like it's mine.
It's nice to know and see that, you know, they're kind of picking up what I picked up from my teachers in the past, which is a nice trait to hear.
Imagine what would happen if every person in the United States suddenly visited your...
Okay, again, as you can see, that's just one of many excellent teacher features, and this was truly inspired by Lorraine Callander, and we thank her for her outstanding work and contributions to the district. And you can watch all the other teacher features that have been completed. They are posted online, so thank you. During the district's YouTube channel, that's where they're at. And that will conclude my report.
Embarrass Lorraine a little bit more.
I'm already going to hear it.
Thank you, Lorraine.
And that concludes my report, President Clone.
Okay. Let's see. We have HIBs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, suspensions, C. List is a little bit longer than we'd all like to see. Do I have a motion to approve under item 6, A, B, C?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice? Yes. Ms. Cohn?
Yes.
Vice President Cho? Yes. President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. We are up to student rep presentation. Lena, are you up for it? You ready? All right.
Hi everyone, I'm Lena Gifnidis, your student representative for Student Council. I'm here to tell you all about the happenings at Summit High School in the past month. The Sophomore Student Council hosted a Chipotle fundraiser where kids could order Chipotle from Springfield to raise money for prom next year. Sophomore students also took their permit test upon finishing driver's ed in the first marking period. Despite some glitches with the DMV's new computer-based testing, the tests were finally completed. Watch out for those new drivers on the road. All grades are excited to participate in the annual hallway decorating event on November 22nd. Hallapalooza is one of Student Council's biggest events, pitting each grade against each other for the most creative hallway. Students are encouraged to sign up after school to help their class councils put together hallway decorations for their chosen theme, and hopefully to be crowned hallway champions. Keeping with the school spirit, we are in the midst of Spirit Week at Summit High School. Today, students were encouraged to dress up like Adam Sandler for Adam Sandler Day. The halls were filled with baggy sweats and Happy Gilmore t-shirts. And now for sports. Fall sports seasons finally came to a close with some notable performances. Congratulations to our Summit High School football team for their Group 3 Regional Championship Tournament win over Passac Valley with a nail-biting score of 32-30, and to the varsity boys cross-country team for their Group 3 state championship win. This is the first sectional title for boys cross-country since 2014, and the 5th in program history. One more shout-out to the Summit Gymnastics team, who sent 6 athletes to the NJSI AA North 1 sectional championship on November 5th. And let's not forget the girls swim team, who recently got their state championship rings for last winter's successful season, and are currently preparing to do it again this winter. Good luck, Hilltoppers. Closing out our athletic updates, as said before, we would like to congratulate the first official, senior student athlete commitment signing that took place last week, with our scholar athletes committing to UVA, Colgate, UPenn, Yale, Georgetown, and Sacred Heart. Our monthly update cannot be complete with the news of successes of our Summit Speech and Debate team. Keeping up with their winning streak, the Summit Speech and Debate team swept the Bronx Science High School tournament last month, winning first place overall. And moving on to the news of the day, our theater department is preparing for their play, She Kills Monsters, tonight. The play will run for 3 days. Tickets are on sale now, if you can still get them. This is your month's report, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all next month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. These reports on what's happening in the district and the high school always seem to be better from the student than from either of us. So we should just defer the whole thing to you going forward. So thank you. We will now take a 5-minute break and reconvene with the content of the meeting. All right, we're good to go. Before we jump into committee reports, additions, revisions to the agenda, we already heard one from the new hire vote. So, Secretary Jess, what others do we have?
Thank you, Mr. President. Under finances, well, we have an addendum, and the following are contained on the addendum. So we have 2 additions under finance, item W, which is approval of an agreement with Warrenanko Sports Center for the Summit Girls Ice Hockey Team for the 22-23 school season, and also an approval of an agreement with Warrenanko Sports Center for the Summit Boys Hockey Team for the 22-23 sports season. Under personnel, item C3 is to be deleted. Item I, we're changing the curriculum rate to $49.45 an hour, and the following are being added and are also contained on the addendum. Item P, approval of non-athletic generic stipends for 22-23 school year. Q is approval of a sidebar agreement with the Summit Education Association. Item R is approval of 1 overlap day for Mr. Kress for television production studio manager teacher. Item S, approval of Stephanie Gallegos, a long-term television production teacher substitute at Summit High School. Item T, approval for Caitlin Riley and Stephanie Goncalves to receive up to 15 hours each at the curriculum rate for ESL screening. And item U, approval for Stephanie Goncalves to receive up to 10 hours at the curriculum rate for ESL summer screening. And I'd ask for your consideration in approving those items this evening.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for those addendum items. And so now we will go into committee reports. Let's start with Ms. Justice on education.
Okay. The Education Committee met on November 3rd at 1:30 for 60 minutes. In attendance were board members, myself, Michael Colon, Joe Porak, and administrative members were Scott Huff, Joseph Cordero, Crystal Marr, and Doreen Babbis. Our items that were discussed, first was the community program. Our Director of Special Services, Doreen Babbis, shared that the community program, which serves our 18 to 21-year-olds at the Summit Community Center, will return to Summit High School after winter break. The Summit Community Center has held that program for the past 3 years, but due to the Summit Community Center's expansion of programming post-COVID, it's time for us to find a new location, so the program will return back to the high school. All families enrolled in the program will receive a communication informing them of the relocation and timeline. The community program will still maintain a partnership with the Summit Community Center, and the district is grateful for the Summit Community Center hosting and supporting the program for the last few years. Second discussion item was the ELL review. Director of Support Services, Crystal Marr, presented a detailed report of the district's program ESL data. Currently, we serve 181 students. That is a significant increase over last school year, and the increase was seen predominantly in our secondary ESL programs. Our programs offer literacy and workshop courses that connect content to students' culture and lived experiences. In this year's 2022 to 2023 data, 60% of our carryover students, 30% are initial placements, 8% are students that exited the program, and 2% are students that declined service. Our average exit time is remaining steady at 3 years, and the data shows there's significant progress in program effectiveness with 102 students on track for this school year. The committee was pleased to learn that there are 48 languages that are represented in our school district. Summit is an increasingly diverse community, and through the ESL program, the district is able to meet the growing needs of this diverse student population. Our third item discussed was the equity audit review. And again, Crystal Marr, Director of Student Personnel Services, gave a high-level overview of the preliminary findings and actions in our equity audit. Hanover Research has partnered with the district to provide the quantitative and qualitative data. Last year, the district participated in the audit, which focuses on 4 key areas: instructional equity, programmatic equity, community perceptions, and achievement equity. The goals of the audit include gathering data about the district's current strengths and areas of growth, prompt reflective conversations about the status of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the district, and identify opportunities to improve equitable practices throughout the district. We will continue to analyze the data, put strategies in place, and develop a multi-year action plan. And in addition, an infographic will be created for the public and posted on the district website. Our fourth item of discussion was the November 8th PD. In November, all elementary schools took part in an introduction to restorative practices training. Our middle school participated in the Nurtured Heart training, and several current high school faculty who have already been trained in restorative practices led the restorative practices training for our new high school faculty. All the professional development that took place in November aligns with our school district goals and best practices for schools. One additional item of note, moving forward, all proposed school calendars will be presented to the Education Committee. There will be a month-long process to carefully review and determine what the calendar should look like, and the board will approve the calendar by December 1st. There were no recommendations, and our next meeting is December 8th at 3 p.m. Any of the committee members have anything to add that I might have missed? Any questions from board members? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Operations, Mr. Cho.
Good evening. The Operations Committee met on November 11th for approximately 90 minutes. Committee members in attendance were from the district staff, Superintendent Scott Huff, Derek Jess, Kathy Sarno, and Emilio Torres, and the board members, Melanie Cohn, Kelly Stanton, and myself. A number of items covered. To start, an update on the bond project. As Superintendent Huff noted in his remarks, the first reading at the City Council was held earlier this week on Monday, and then the second reading will be later in December, and subject to that approval, followed by a 20-day post-approval petition period. As part of the submission to the City Council, you had to get the State Department of Education completion of their review of the project, and all the components except for the Anderson Fieldhouse, the Tatlock renovations, were deemed eligible for debt service reimbursement by the state. The eligible costs are reimbursed at a 40% rate, of which the district receives 85% of the reimbursement over the life of the bond term, and the pro forma estimated amount of reimbursement from the state for the debt service is approximately $8 million. The subject to final approval, the city will issue some initial short-term notes in January to fund the initial cost of the project, and then the longer-term bonds would be issued later in the year, probably in July or August of '23, and the possibility is there's more than one bond issuance over the life of the project. Based on feedback from the city's bond underwriters, the projected debt service over the recommended 23-year payback period would result in an annual estimated tax impact of $268 for the average home assessed at $426,000. The major capital project that's been ongoing here at the high school, the HVAC upgrade and expansion, is now over 95% complete. If you're driving around by the high school on Saturday, November 5th, you would have seen the very large crane and a number of flatbed trailers with lots of big machinery. Those were the rooftop units, which were either removed and installed, and the remaining connections for the controllers and air handlers were handled this past weekend over the teachers' convention break. There's still one unit to be installed. It does have a ship date, and that will be is projected to be installed over the winter break. The project budgeted cost was $3,826,000, and the final cost is estimated to be slightly higher at $3,899,824. The additional costs were due to a change order for some installation repairs, which are expected to be covered by insurance, for which a claim has already been submitted. And again, these projects were paid for by some ESSER grants and also a withdrawal from the Capital Reserve Fund. Upon completion of the project for the HVAC, either at the high school will be upgraded or newly installed over all the classrooms, and an expansion in the cafeteria, upgrade in the auditorium and other auxiliary rooms, leaving only the 2 gyms without air conditioning. So we're well prepared for warmer temps. We also covered an item with respect to non-public administration. This is a situation where the state provides aid to private schools within a district for some financial aid for items related to security, technology, nursing, and textbooks. The state aid is, however, distributed through the local public school district the private schools are located in as a pass-through entity. Historically, given the accounting work required, the district has utilized a third party, the Union County Services Commission, to administer the program for us, which the most current cost is $46,000. We are switching next fiscal year to a different service provider, New Jersey Educational Services Commission, which will have a lower cost of $22,000, resulting in annual savings of $24,000. The budget season has kicked off. The staff is starting their preparation for the fiscal year 23-24 budget, starting initially with a review of the staffing needs at every school. The Operations Committee will be working with the finance staff over the next 2 months to prepare, and projected presentation will be in the February board meeting, and then per the usual calendar, the Board of School Estimate presentations will be in March. On the food service side, the prior school year ended with a $244,000 surplus. That will be held in a food service reserve fund for future operating and capital needs. The staff is working with the eligible families to complete applicable paperwork for the lunch program, and that paperwork was not required for the prior 2 years, but it should be noted that all students are being provided with meals regardless of their application status. The prior year audit work is complete. No material items inspected. However, we have not gotten the issuance of the final audit because the partner review is still not yet completed. We expect that to be handled in the next month. Based on the preliminary numbers, we expect to have for the upcoming fiscal, or the current fiscal year, capital reserve balance of $3.3 million, a maintenance reserve balance of $894,000, and a surplus balance of $3.4 million estimated, which can be used for future years' operating expenses. The School's Safety and Security Committee met several times, and one area they're focusing on is doing a security walkthrough of each building with a police officer. And the areas of focus for the walkthroughs are access controls, visitor protocols, camera coverage, exterior doors, and window security. Now, the police have also resumed regular patrols of each campus. The school patrols had been suspended for the past 2 years, but now they've resumed, and then per standard procedures, it should be noted that our local police do have access to each building along with lockbox access for any interior space keys as needed. The committee is also reviewing potential changes in the procedures related to after-school use of our buildings by local organizations. And in the prior month, I mentioned about the electronic visitor management system, which we're going to do a trial run. That installation will start shortly in 3 of the schools as a test pilot. Again, that will be a showing an ID, which we can stand, and it'll have electronic logs of each visitor versus the current paper procedure. And then one other update on the school security. The state has contracted with the firm, CRG Inc., to create a digital map for each school campus, which will be electronically accessible to law enforcement and first responders. The map will have details of the floor plans, noting room numbers and uses, hallway names, external door stairwell numbers, key utility spaces, security cameras, location of key boxes, and other pertinent information which will be electronically accessible in the event of emergency by, again, law enforcement and first responders. The only board action item, which is part of the operations agenda, will be approval for the switch in the service providers to administer the non-public aid on our behalf from the Union County Services Commission to the New Jersey Services Commission. And our next meeting will be on December 7th at 4:30 p.m. Kelly, Melanie, anything to add? A lot to cover. All right. Board members, questions? And Derek, did I get everything correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Very good.
Always does. I get excited when I see reserve balances rising and surpluses. Those are key words that make me very happy. Question, Derek, I think you'll be able to answer this easily, but my memory fails a bit with respect to the historical surplus balances. I know we have run surplus balances on an annual basis, but the context of the $3.4 million relative to previous years, where does this put us?
So the first thing I will say is that we need to remember that for the year ended June 30th of 2022 and the year ended June 30th, 2021, districts were allowed to carry a surplus balance of 4%, whereas by statute, we're only allowed to carry 2%, and the reason for that excess carrying was because of the pandemic, because districts weren't spending and things like that. So historically, if we go back to fiscal year 18, we had a total in fiscal year 18 of $2.8 million in surplus. Fiscal year 19 was 4.2. Fiscal year 20 was $3 million. Fiscal year 21, 4.7, and for this year coming up a total of 3.9. And so last year, for the year that we're in now, we used $2.5 million of surplus to help balance our budget. So next year, moving forward, we can use anywhere from that same amount up to about $3.5 million to help balance our budget and offset taxes.
Okay, so it's actually higher than the pre-pandemic levels that we were running surpluses,
Correct.
But not as high as the pandemic levels because of the change in the cap.
Correct, and to Mr. Cho's point as well, we were able this year, besides our surplus, we were able to put $1.5 million into capital reserve and another $500,000 into our maintenance reserve to help us as we move forward with various projects.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, moving on. Communications, Ms. Miller.
Thank you. You okay over there, Mel?
Okay.
Yeah, I held off on policy for
Yeah.
a minute here. Yes,
Good
sir.
evening, everyone. All right, so the Communications Committee met on November 15th. Yeah, we just met the other day, for 32 whole minutes. In attendance, beside myself, were Jan Cho, Kelly Stanton, Superintendent Huff, Lorraine Callander, and Doug Orr. We started, of course, with a review of our ongoing projects and communications. The president has already shared with you information about our coffees, so I will not reiterate all the good news there. I will add, however, that the committee is very happy that these forums are happening again because we think they do a great service for two-way communication. We next spoke about website accessibility. As reported in October, the district is reviewing and updating its accessibility, which is a review that's required by policy and law, but is a practice that we would typically do anyway. An audit was conducted, and the areas that the district could improve on for accessibility either have been taken care of internally or are being taken care of. There are some areas where the tweaks require structural, you know, you gotta get into the guts of the website. We cannot do that, but our website vendor will be. And so we will be completely accessible in the ways that are required by the law shortly. We also, last month I spoke about a district app. We got an update on that. The committee approved the app as it was presented to us, and it will be submitted to the App Store, so the powers that be there can approve it. We don't know what the timing is for that approval because it's out of our control, but we hope that it will be soon. The app has a homepage. Obviously, it'll be accessible on your, iPhone, etc. It includes icons for posts, there's a gallery of photos at this point, events, which is our calendar, and there are different slides for how you opt in or out of however many calendars you'd like. And there's another area of interest icon as well, which will currently include things like the district directory, athletic information, and information about the arts and school open times. So the app, I think, is definitely something that the district has wanted for a long time, and we're finally, very, very close to having one, and that's a very good thing. Superintendent Huff shared that the district will reserve time on BOE agendas on an as-needed basis to recognize district employees who have gone above and beyond the typical on behalf of another in our district. So again, I want to be clear with the board, it isn't a monthly thing, it's when the district knows someone's gone above and beyond, we're going to know it, and we're going to applaud them here on the agenda. And finally, we spoke about the weather communication. The district will send again, as it did last year, a comprehensive weather communication outlining and explaining the collaborative decision-making process that goes into things like delayed openings and school closures due to inclement weather and other, this is for inclement weather. The final communication will absolutely include a reminder that the state of New Jersey does not authorize remote school or remote instruction during inclement weather closures. That was all that we spoke about, but because you saved us a few minutes, it's a good time for me to say that things like website accessibility and the district app are just two of the many things that our communication and technology individuals do kind of in background. And these are things that when they don't go well, we hear about it as a board and as a district. But when they do go well, they kind of stay in background and don't get necessarily a lot of attention. It's kind of like your beating heart. You don't know it, you don't notice it until it's not working well. So I just want to applaud, again, Lorraine for so many wonderful ideas and improvements to our communication, and Doug Orr, who is a wonderful partner. They both work in concert to really make sure that everything's going very, very well here. And when it doesn't go as well as we'd like, those are the two people who kind of circle the wagons and make sure it gets better. So we thank you. And we see Lorene a lot, but we don't always see Doug. So if Doug's out there, thank you, Doug, for all that you do as well. And that's it. We will meet again on December 6th. We have no recommendations at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? All right. We move to policy. Ms. Cohn, are we?
Well, Lena's going to present so that I don't cough.
All right.
We're going to make this work. It's good teamwork. So the policy committee met on Monday, November 7th at 3:30 for 42 minutes. And in attendance were board members Melanie Cohn, Joseph Perec, and myself. And from the administration, Scott Huff, Robert Gardella, and Kathleen Murphy. The committee discussed several policy topics, and the policies discussed with key points denoted are referenced below, and I will go through those policies. Policy P1511, Board of Education website accessibility, is a new policy. This policy is in response to a recently passed New Jersey state law requiring school districts' websites to be in compliance with the U.S. DOE Office of Civil Rights Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. This policy is mandated. Policy P2432, school-sponsored publications. The policy and regulation are recommended to be abolished and replaced with P5722. Policy 2432R is school-sponsored publications also. Policy 5722, student journalism, is a new policy in response to a recently passed New Jersey law that requires school districts to adopt a written policy concerning student freedom of expression. The new statutes include definitions, indicates a student's journalist's right to exercise freedom of speech and of press in school-sponsored media, provides student expression that is not protected expression, includes a process that school officials must follow when it is believed the student expression is not protected, and provides an appeal process. This policy is mandated. Policy 5512, harassment, intimidation, or bullying, has been revised. The policy and regulation have been revised to align with the new 2022 NGDOE model policy to include all of the minimum model policy language and several provisions included in the issues for consideration in local model policy development. This includes a new NJDOE-approved report, a student intervention plan for a student who is an offender in 3 HIB incidents occurring within 1 school year, and a requirement for the principal to notify the parents of the alleged offender and victim with a formal notice of decision to not initiate a HIB investigation when the district uses a preliminary determination option. This policy is also mandated. Committee recommendations, first reading of policies 1511, 5512, and 5722, and abolishing policy and regulation 2432 as noted above. Second reading, 1648.13, school employee vaccination requirements abolish. Policy 2412 and 2412R, home instruction due to health condition, internal revision. Policy 2425 and 2425R, emergency virtual or remote instruction program, revised and new. Policy 3270 and 3270R, professional responsibilities, lesson plans and plan books recommended. Policy 5200 and 5200R, attendance, internal revision. Policy 5513, care of school property, revised. Policy 5513R, care of school property. Policy 8550, meal charges outstanding, internal revision. The next meeting of the policy committee will be Wednesday, December 7th at 3:30. Any policy committee members have any questions or anything that was omitted? Excellent, thank you.
Nope. Okay. Thank you for jumping in there, Ms. Justice. All right. Negotiations Committee did not meet over this past month. Nothing to report. Liaison reports. Any liaison reports?
SEF. SEF had their board meeting last month, and it was held in the Washington STEAM Innovation Lab, and the board was certainly thrilled to see the impact their grant to the district had, and seeing the lab. The presentation by the Washington STEAM teacher and Dr. Joseph Cordero just gave a little insight into what the students were working on, and So again, it's really exciting to see that. The grant process for the fall is underway. 30 grants were submitted. The grant committee is working on that now, and they'll be brought to the SCF board for approval in early December. So it'll be brought to our attention at the board, I think either later in December or the January meeting in terms of the announcement of the district. And their first in-person event for donors will be held tomorrow night, November 18th.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jan. Any other reports from board members? Nope. Okay. And with that, we have completed the committee reports. I think, Secretary Jess, we can jump into public comment.
Excellent.
Would you like to do the spiel?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everybody. Anyone wishing to speak shall first seek recognition by the presiding officer. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address in a clear, audible tone for the record. All comments should be directed to the board president and not an individual member of the board. Unless additional time is granted by the board president, please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. In addition, please note that this portion of the meeting is a public comment and not meant to be a back and forth. Board members and administration will not respond to questions or comments at this time. However, information will be provided as soon as possible.
Okay, let's start with public comment for items that are on this evening's agenda. Okay. We move to B, public comments for items not on the agenda. All right. Do I have a motion to close the public comment?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved.
Okay. Jumping into the content on the agenda and approval of. Start with the board minutes. Item 11A would be the only point there, which are the minutes themselves. Motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved.
Item 12, curriculum instruction program, A and B. A being the field trip to the Statue of Liberty. Difficult to challenge that event. And so could I have a motion to approve those two items?
I'd love to.
Second.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cohn?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, finance, 13 items A to V, inclusive of W and X, so we will go items A to X with the addendum. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cohn?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Item 14, school board operation, 2 items, A and B. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice? Ms. Cohn?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, personnel. Item 15 on the agenda, sub-items A through U, including the addendum as well as the adjustment to remove C3. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice? Ms. Cohn?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. The recently reviewed policies and regs, including the items up for first reading as well as those for second reading. Do I have a motion to approve?
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cohn?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. We are up to 17. We do not have a need for a closed session unless someone surprises me in the next 3 seconds. And so we will not go into closed session. And so before the motion to adjourn, on behalf of the Board of Education, and I'm sure our fearless superintendent and the cabinet, I'd like to wish everyone a wonderful, happy, healthy, and joyous Thanksgiving. With that, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries, and we are adjourned at 8:10 PM.
Okay, thank you.